We're talking to Chancellor John Morgan from the Tennessee Board of Regents, and he's given us some information in reference to his background, education, and similar information. And now, Chancellor, let's see if we can have you to talk about the Tennessee Board of Regents from your perspective. We'll have about 8 minutes, and give us as much information that you care to give us.
Sure, I'd be happy to. What I'd like to focus on really is what we're doing right now. And what we're focused on right now in the Tennessee Board of Regents really is a direct result of the Complete College Tennessee Act of 2010. That act passed during a special session of the legislature in 2010. And what it did really, maybe for the first time in Tennessee, clearly articulated a role that higher education, that public higher education needed to play to benefit the state's economic development. There was a lot of conversation about different higher ed reform and education reform opportunities during that time, but what we ended up with the Complete College Act was really focusing public higher education on the need that the state has to have a better educated workforce. When you look at the challenges we face as a state in a global economy, we really are undereducated. So employers, in order to grow, in order to locate in Tennessee, really need to have a workforce that will enable them to be successful. So what we're focused on in our system is really raising education attainment level of Tennesseans, and the way we are going to do that is by being more successful in attracting and retaining students, helping them move through their programs as quickly as they can so they can receive their credential, whether that be a certificate from a technology center, an associate degree from a community college, or bachelor's degree or advanced degree from a university, so that they can really meet the state's workforce needs. Well, what that has caused us in, and we talked a bit about finance, is it's caused us to look at the money we have and how we spend those dollars and try to make sure that we are deploying those resources in a way that will have a real effect on the outcomes that the state has identified that we need to be about the business of achieving. So it's an exciting time in public higher education, an exciting time in the Board of Regents system, because we're more focused than we ever have been on student success. What is it we can do to help students get in our programs and successfully get out of our programs as quickly as they can?
Now, Chancellor, I also understand that the lottery is part of provides. Talk about that.
The lottery has been a very important tool for the state in providing financial resources to students to help them achieve their higher education goals. More so in universities than community colleges, but an important part of community college students' ability to finance their education. You know, if you look over the last 5 or 6 years, state tax appropriations to the higher education systems in Tennessee has gone down by in excess of 33–34%. That's real decline in state resources appropriated for higher education. So student financial aid has been critical. We've had to raise tuition. Hadn't liked it, and we wish we didn't have to do it, but we've had to do some tuition increases to make up for some of that shortfall.
30% shortfall, yeah.
30% shortfall. We haven't raised tuition to replace all those dollars. We have become more efficient. In fact, we have less money per student today than we had in 2007 when you look at our system, and the same is true for the University of Tennessee as well. But the lottery scholarship has been a very important vehicle to help students afford to go to college in Tennessee and make a decision to stay in Tennessee. And that has been a positive, very positive for our system, for students, and for the state.
I know every time we have a person to visit us from the Regents, they talk about the lottery scholarship and how important it is.
The lottery provides somewhere around $230 million a year in student financial aid when you take all things into account. And that's a big component of how students are financing their education. However, having said that, Tennessee, compared to other states, is a fairly low financial aid state. While the lottery is important, we don't have the same kind of resources other states have. So that's one of the things that when it comes to financing higher education that is very critical. And hopefully that is one of the things that the governor will be looking at as he brings his budget forward in the next few weeks.
In other words, you feel that there is a need throughout the entire system for greater financial support from the state itself.
Absolutely, and I believe we have turned a corner, and the state really had no choice. When the economy turned down, there are some things that the state has to do. The Medicaid programs, the correction programs, higher ed is one of those things that we ought to do, but we don't have to do. So when cuts were made to higher education. But I think we're past that. State's doing better now financially, and I think Governor Haslam understands the importance of investing, because it's not really an expenditure in higher education; it's really an investment. And I believe he understands that, and I'm very hopeful that we will see that reflected in his next budget.
And so you think that things are getting better for higher education in the state of Tennessee?
Things are getting better for higher education in the state of Tennessee. I'm confident of that.
Very good. And of course, we've got about a minute before this segment ends for today. But essentially, that's the kind of information we want to get from you in reference to.
Now, that doesn't mean we have enough.
Yeah, well, okay, very good.
There's never enough.
Very good.
But I do think that we're going to see now I think we're going to see some increased investment in higher education. And if we do our part under the Complete College Act, one of the key components of that was an outcome-based formula that promises funding based on how well we do our job. And I think if the state will honor its commitment, and as we do our job better, that they will reflect that in funding, I think we'll make great improvements in higher education in Tennessee.
Very good. And that includes all of the higher educational institutions in the state of Tennessee except the University of Tennessee. Is that what?
Our system.
Yeah,
our system includes
us.
But the University of Tennessee is also public higher education.
And now, how about the funds that flow between these two institutions? Is there any rivalry for funds? Where does most of the money end up?
There's always a sense of competition with the University of Tennessee system for funding and reputation and attention and otherwise. But the funding really is based on a formula that the Tennessee Higher Education Commission operates that fairly recognizes the difference between the two systems and allocates those monies in a fair way.
And so the system is doing well, better than at any time up until now. Less.
Certainly better than we have in the last 4 or 5 years.
Good, very good.
Yes.
And of course, let's take this commercial break, Chancellor, and then we'll come back for the final segment.
Great.
And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.